Kia at Travel Culture. Thank you for joining us today. If you are a new or old subscriber, we are glad to have you and giving us your time, and we're hopeful you watch until the end. In this episode, we change the narrative of how bananas should be properly harvested. This is our second season series of banana garden innovations. When a banana fruit is harvested, every part of it is important. In the previous season last year, we showed the various play toys that can be made mostly by children, such as shoes, balls, ropes, etc. No part of a banana can be wasted, especially at harvest time. In Season 2 series, we show you how to fully eat the whole banana crop, not just the fruit after harvest. In this series, we are going to demonstrate how we make juice from a banana trunk after harvesting the banana fruit that you see here being cut off the stem trunk from which we shall make juice. When the fruit is cut off the trunk, a part of it is laid out in the garden for mulching, as you can see being done here. This includes parts of the stem which can be split apart for quick rotting alongside the leaves. This is now the critical point. The remaining long tree trunk is cut off from below, crucial for the next steps involved in juice making to now follow carefully. Moving around the thick trunk, the other side is cut through before it falls off, leaving the shorter trunk attached to the soil. There are two types of juices we shall be making. We start with this tree trunk cut off. This trunk is split open until we reach its middle heart. It's really thick and not easy to split open, so we shall require a knife to keep cutting through and splitting the different layers. Finally here, we reach almost the heart of the trunk. That's its middle, which is white compared to the earlier olive green layers split earlier. However, it's advisable if one is keeping the trunk for days or for sale in the market. It's better to keep the olive green layers on for later removal to protect the freshness of the heart. Having cut out the heart, we cover the split layers in the garden for mulching purposes now. Now our banana fruit and trunk heart are ready for eating and drinking purposes to take inside home. Here, we work on the first banana juice making. We measure 2 spoons of sugar in a cup that we take back to the garden. So, remember the tree trunk that we cut off the longer trunk and fruit earlier. It's still fresh. This part is still fresh, connected to soil to gain the nutrients. It's this half that we use to make the juice type 1. To make the juice, we start off by clearing the middle part of the trunk. Now, here, we don't keep the heart, but remove the heart and several layers all around it to make a huge hole in the middle. It should be as big as possible, but again, the layers shouldn't be too thin to leak out the juice.
Nice.
Oh, yes, remember this is edible banana, so you can still taste a little bit of its raw form, like the small pieces we're squashing out here. After all, it's from here that the juice will be made, from this raw material. So why not taste or eat out what you are squashing? Ha 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 ha. Now, when you have had a nice hole made in the middle, add sugar. It's important to have a large hole. The larger and deeper the hole, the more juice indeed. However, we can't just leave our sugar and juice forming section open like that. Insects could crawl in. So what do? We get a banana leaf which we cover with. The lower and less beaten by dust will be the one used to cover. The dry banana stem remains will be used to tie the double banana cover into place. Oh, by the way, these dry stems have several uses to, like ropes making and sports, while the green fresh trunk can be used to make shoes. All these can be seen if you check out in our earlier series. To ensure our juice is clean and protected, we triple tie with a natural bag that ensures absolute protection. Well, the bag quite fits well the trunk, but should also be tied into place as you never know it can be blown off by the wind. The extra tie is to ensure the tiny insects don't crawl into the juice pot, especially if attracted to sugar. Alright, now that our juice pot in the garden is ready, leave it for 8 to 12 hours, but the more hours the better with more juice being made, especially with a huge hole. But it should not be left for more than a day for hygiene and health purposes. And with that, we take our harvested fruit and heart stem to start on the second juice making process. We start off by washing the heart from the garden. The juice will be made from the harvest banana heart stem got from layers scraped off earlier. We don't make from the banana fruit. Neither do we wait for bananas to ripen. We eat them in raw form. The raw fruit is usually peeled for cooking as shown in one of our documentaries, where it's prepared as food served with the heart stem as the sauce. Be sure to check it out. Well, here once the stem has been washed, it's cut into half again and the side layers are peeled off to ensure we get the really soft side. It's not easy to cut through the layers, especially in tiny pieces, but with a nice sharp knife and board one will be good to go. The stem is further cut into half to generate small pieces. Either method one uses is okay, whether triangular or square, but we must warn you beforehand, it's not as easy as it looks. Have good energy to cut through the stem, and yes, practice makes perfect. It's advised to get a wooden board, as using the metallic board one may cut through the metal, which is unhealthy to swallow small pieces embedded. As the tiny pieces are cut, there is thread-like loose fiber which should be removed. While cutting the tiny fiber pieces, it's important to keep the pieces in water to keep them fresh. Otherwise, leaving them dry, they may turn a dark brown, which may also affect the outcome's color probably. Therefore here, we immerse our cut pieces in water as we continue to cut through the other half of the trunk. And oh, yes, just like at the juice pot earlier, one can enjoy the edible pieces. If you are wondering about the taste, it's blunt, sugarless, saltless.
Nice.
Once all the pieces have been cut, we wash them and immerse them in water to keep them fresh. While washing, we continuously remove the loose thread-like fiber. It's so important to remove it, especially at this stage, as it can be very thick to soften during either cooking to eat or blending to drink. Its removal thus ensures a smooth eating or drinking process. We innovatively try to use its part stem later to attract the glue-like threads to the stem and further remove those still attached or tiny for removal or peel off the pieces. We don't promise you that you can remove all the threads, but try to remove those visible as much as you can from our experience during eating. We thoroughly wash the pieces since we are going to make fresh juice out of them, so hygiene is a top priority here. One may decide to soak and wash them in boiled water before the final juice making process. However, given some places of the world type water is safe for drinking, so that wash under the tap water is enough. However, for places like ours where tap water is not safe to drink, please soak wash with boiled water at final stage to especially avoid typhoid and stuff. Now that our pieces are clean, we start the actual stage of the juice making process. You will need a blender. If you don't have a blender, one can use the tiny wooden mortar circled red in the corner to grind the pieces. Whatever blending or grinding tool you have, remember the most important part is to grind the pieces, and since we have a blender, we shall use the blender instead. Here we put the pieces for electric grinding. For electric grinding, we shall add some boiled water. If you are using the wooden mortar, pound the pieces first without water, then put them in the jar to add a reasonable amount of water depending on the grinder pieces and later sieve. Both the blender and wooden mortar brings us to one single point at the end where the grinder or pounded pieces are sieved into a container. Here our juice will be ready for drinking. One can either add sugar or salt, perhaps add honey to taste better. This type of banana juice is very important to drink every day. It's rich in various vitamins like B, including potassium. It can help in removal of kidney stones. The juice has lots and lots of healthy benefits to be drunk daily. And with your fresh banana stem that can be preserved naturally for days, why not have a glass daily? Well, wasn't that nice and easy to make? That brings us to the end of juice making 2. Now we go back to juice making 1. It's morning 12 hours later, as we head back to our garden to check on the pot juice we made yesterday evening. It's our first time making this type of juice and our hearts are racing. Will the juice be there? Is it real as we had read and followed the ancestral steps from India where all this innovation perhaps started from? Probably it stemmed from the many bananas grown and harvested as the world's biggest banana exporter. And alas, what so much trunks perhaps go to waste that they had to invent trunk juice. Well, to access our trunk pot juice, we go through the several steps, now backwards from yesterday by removing the fiber ropes around to then remove the bag, leaves all around. For each step, our hearts are racing to see. Oh goodness, the juice is absolutely formed. We are so excited, ha ha ha. Our wait and patience paid off. We now scoop out the juice from the stem hole pot. It's indeed exciting. We hope you are excited along with us. The juice is so clear, so natural, so refreshing. It has no smell. We had quite a deep hole, so we shall get a good amount of glasses. The scooping gets harder the more we get to the hole bottom. If one has a smaller scooper, better to use that to easily scoop out all the juice. Don't worry about the brown stuff. It's all part of the trunk. And if we can drink from it, we can eat its bits too. Oh dear. As we get to the bottom, we scoop as much as we can, and at this point, we wish we had even made our pot hole deeper. With a good pot, deep one can get indeed several jars of juice. However, that also takes a lot of work to make the pot trunk deep. Here, we pour the juice in the glass and show you how clear and nice it is to drink. Nyamu ah.
Nice. Madam?
This brings us to the end of our banana juice 1 made from the heart of the trunk pot. We enjoyed it so much that we decided to make another pot juice. We followed the same steps of adding sugar to the pot trunk and retie it nicely and clear, just as we had done the first time. Meanwhile, we hope this banana series has enlightened us more about the importance of banana as a whole from fruit to the stem for whole consumption. So the next time you harvest a banana fruit, be careful to analyze all the important components you may surely need before they go to waste. The next morning, we now go back to check if we got more juice in our pot trunk. We are so sure and excited. Until...
Yeah, det er spoon.
We have our jar and scooping spoon ready. We untie the trunk. Ready. Again. Oops, there was no juice this time. The disappointment and horror we had. The sugar had dissolved though. We learned that to make the nice refreshing trunk juice is better done when the trunk is fresh. Each can produce the juice once, so utilize it fully at harvest. But perhaps our next interesting experiment will be what if we cut the upper section of the trunk hole and dug a new hole below. Can we get new juice? Watch out our next banana series, or do the experiment beforehand and you can let us know the results. Well, we hope you learned something. It was a pleasure having you with us today. Smiles.